Oh, that's right, I have a movie review to do, don't I? I'm sorry, that movie was just so boring that I can't help but... What's up guys, Cam here coming at you with another movie review. I am continuing on with Bad Movie Month, and I am bringing you today 10.0 Earthquake. Duh. This movie is directed by David Gedali and stars Henry Ian Cusick, Jeffrey Jones, and Heather Soseman. In a movie about earthquakes, that's really about it. You know, this movie is called 10.0 Earthquake, but you don't see a 10.0 earthquake. It's just it's a series of little itty-bitty earthquakes here and there that are somehow opening up these enormous cracks in the earth, and it's just... I'm just going to start off with saying that this plot doesn't make any sense whatsoever. There is so much technical babble about how it's all happening, and it doesn't make any sense. It's so rushed and so mediocre that you can't make any sense of it. It doesn't make the plot open up to you at all. You don't get an aha moment of, oh, okay, that's why that's happening. No, you're kind of just sitting there like... And I'm also going to say I did not like this movie at all. Oh my god, this movie was boring. It was so boring. It tried so hard to be exciting and to be engaging, but it failed on every front possible. And a lot of that is due to the fact that the acting in this movie is pretty mediocre. It is mediocre at best. There's just such really poor characterization of these people, and you don't care about them at all. There's nothing that makes them engaging. There's nothing that makes them stand out. There's nothing that makes them in any way interesting. All that you're interested in is the earthquakes that are going on, but even that isn't interesting because it's so poorly done. Really all it is the cameraman shaking the camera just a little bit and CGI cracks appearing in the ground. And speaking of those CGI cracks, one, they look terrible, and two, it's almost like they have a mind of their own because they're opening up in all the places that are convenient to the plot. At the same time though, it's not convenient to the plot because a lot of this stuff has no arc. There's a lot that goes on that just has no arc whatsoever. Like, a crack will open up at a gas station and the guy's making such a big deal out of having to stop and get gas because he's afraid that they're going to run out in the forest. But then the gas station blows up and it's like, oh, okay, well, moving on. Do they run out of gas? No. Is there any mention of gas at all for the rest of the entire movie? No, come on. If you're going to have such a major event happen in the movie, give it an arc. Give it some kind of payoff. Otherwise, it's just there for runtime filler. That's all it is. I mean, everything about this catastrophe is just so poorly done. I mean, if there's so much going on in LA right now, if there's so much catastrophe going around and fires springing up everywhere and cracks opening up all over the city, then why is everybody just continuing to go on with their day-to-day lives? There's a lot of wide shots, wide establishing shots of LA, and you just see regular LA traffic going to and from wherever they're going. And it kind of takes you out of the moment because you look at that and you think to yourself, huh, these people don't seem to give a shit about what's going on around them. So why should I? Now, I will be talking in depth about this movie, so I'm just going to go ahead and give you the spoiler alert right now because there are some scenes that I want to talk about that will help me in the review, but you'll see. Just wait and you'll see. Now, the main reason all these earthquakes are going on is because this guy, the main character, works for this oil company, and they have a drill right on the San Andreas Fault, and they drill just a little bit too deeply. What the fuck? Why would you put a drill, an oil drill, on the San Andreas Fault line? That doesn't make any sense. That just spells disaster. It's like who the hell was the dumb CEO that said, oh, you know what? This point is marked right on the map as a place of danger, huh? You know what, let's just go ahead and put an oil drill right there and see how much oil we can get. Speaking of which, they try to put this antagonist in there. This really stupid, phoned-in antagonist who's like the CEO of this oil company, who's like, well, I don't give a shit that all these earthquakes are going on and people are dying and, you know, all this catastrophe is going on around us. Let's just continue oil drilling with this other station that's built basically on the San Andreas Fault line too. You know, money. 'Cause money. That's why. Just money. He was completely unnecessary to the plot. This movie could have gone for the entire runtime without having him in it. One thing I will say about this movie though, thankfully it doesn't take itself too seriously. There are some attempts at being funny in there and some attempts at some little quips for the audience, but they fail so bad. This movie is so maddeningly not funny, especially with the mad scientist character who's played by Jeffrey Jones. I mean, I love the guy. He is a great actor, but in this movie, he just plays the kooky scientist who spouts all these one-liners, and it's just like, oh my god, you're annoying, shut up, I don't like you at all. And they give him all these weird quirks, like he's like addicted to Red Bull or something, and it all comes back to the fact that you just don't care about this character. You don't care about any of the characters at all, because like I said, there's nothing that makes them interesting. Not one thing that makes them interesting. You've got the really cliche, so cliche, overprotective father who is divorced from his wife, and he's never there for the daughter, and it's just like, you try to phone in all this family drama that doesn't matter to the plot. It doesn't matter at all. He's supposed to sign these divorce papers, but it doesn't matter. It's mentioned once. The divorce papers are mentioned once, and they're never brought up again. You could have had this entire movie without the family drama, and it would still be exactly the same movie. If you're gonna have that, have it be integral to the plot. But it's not. It's not integral to the plot at all. It's just there. It's just there to take up more runtime. It's just there to try and make you care about the characters, but it doesn't. You don't care about the characters at all! And this movie is so filled with continuity errors. I am talking like, completely takes you out of the immersion, if any, of this movie, with continuity errors. I mean, there's a scene where this guy, he's climbing up a palm tree, okay? Right before he climbs up the palm tree, there is an entire shot dedicated to him strapping a chainsaw to his belt. And then in the very next shot, literally the very next shot, as he starts to climb up this tree, the chainsaw is gone, and then it reappears magically in the next shot. It's like, why? How does that slip through editing? Does your editor just not give a shit about his job? Go with the take that doesn't have the continuity errors. I can't stand them. And then as this catastrophe is going on, there are these little minor characters that are there for like 2 minutes that die. Like, for example, there are these surfers who, there's a big deal out of having to show them to the audience and having, GoPros on their surfboards and whatnot. There's a big deal that's made out of it, and their only lines are, dude. Oh, dude. Dude? Dude. Shut up! Shut up! You can't have such cliche characters in there. Surfers that only say, dude? I can appreciate that this movie isn't trying to take itself too seriously. At the same time, though, I really wish that it would take itself seriously, so that way you wouldn't have all these annoying character tropes in there that you just don't give a shit about. And a lot of these characters die in the dumbest ways. In the dumbest ways! I mean, yeah, you have a couple that fall into the fissures that open up in the ground, but at the same time, there's one. There's a hunter out there who's, I guess, hunting ducks with a shotgun, and he gets distracted by his dog who barks before an earthquake, and it's a teeny tiny earthquake that makes him stumble just a little bit, and he has his shotgun propped up against a rock. Whenever the earthquake hits, the shotgun falls off, and once it hits the ground, it shoots him in the back. Why? Why would you include that in the movie? Why? He doesn't die by the earthquake. All you're doing is just showing it just another earthquake, shaking the camera just a little bit, and you have him die from his own shotgun falling to the ground? What? So much about this movie just doesn't make sense, and there are so many characters in here. So many characters, like you have the main family, who is the father, the mother, and the daughter, but then you have all these other side characters that are branched out from them, and they all meet up in the middle, and you don't care about any of them. You have a scientist lady who works for another scientist guy who dies, and he has to employ the mad scientist, and then there's a lieutenant that's in there, and he has to tell everybody to evacuate, and it's like, they try to make all these characters major characters, but you can't have a movie with such a short runtime with all these characters that you try to make feel important. And there is a chase scene, literally like a chase scene, where the mother and the father are in this truck and they're trying to drive away from the earthquakes, but the cracks in the ground are literally like following them. It's like they have a mind of their own. These cracks are literally following them, and the chase scene is so laughably bad. It is so bad. You have the guy who's driving and he turns his wheel like almost 180 degrees to the left, and the car just goes whoop, just a little bit. It's like, Come on, at least try and make it somewhat believable. There is so much about this movie that is just so bad. I am sorry. If you wanna watch this movie, it's on Netflix. And if you wanna have the opportunity to really sit down and laugh at a movie, then please give this movie a shot. I mean, by all means, I'm actually recommending this movie for people who wanna laugh at a natural disaster movie. I'm not gonna be doing my top 3 or top 5 favorite or laughable scenes for the remainder of Bad Movie Month. I'll be continuing that in next month with Dragon Ball Z month. Look forward to that. Next month will be all Dragon Ball Z movies. I've already got them all together. I'm taking notes on them now. As always, I will see you in the next review, and be prepared. The next one's going to be a doozy.